what channels are you the most excited for? Oh, you told me to watch Bill Burnham, by the way.
Bill Burnham? Bo Burnham?
Sorry, yeah. No, his brother, his less successful brother, Bill, who's a great artist, by the way. That guy can wood sculpt like no other.
To be honest, I was surprised that you didn't already know Bo Burnham well.
I never heard of him before, but I mean, everyone's writing articles on it, so apparently you're not alone in this.
Yeah, I'd been following him for a while, like because he started out just posting videos on YouTube. He's a few years younger than us. I think he's like five or so years younger than us. So for me, it was always that, when you watch somebody, you're like, this guy's way too talented. I'm annoyed.
And for those of you who don't know who Bo Burnham is, like myself, Bo Burnham does these little specials that he's been releasing on Netflix. Is that right?
Yeah, last 3 are on Netflix now. Yeah,
and he's content creator, filmmaker, and this latest one he did called Inside. He filmed it over the course of last year alone, inside, using regular cameras, motorized sliders, that kind of thing, and a bunch of different creative lighting. And I will say it's very interesting. It's very art housey. It's like one of those things that would do well at the ceremonies, just because like I don't get it. You know what I mean? But it's a musical.
I thought you would appreciate the shots. I thought that you would, because as somebody, you have to shoot yourself often in very interesting ways. Yeah. And I thought that the reason why I recommended Inside to you, we never really talked much about music, and I feel that might have been what threw you off. Is that?
Yeah, I'm not a huge musical guy. I love music and I love listening to it and tripping out and like using it to edit, but I don't watch musicals at all. I don't, or live
and it is weird having a guy like sing at you for the special, right? So there is a bit of that, but I just thought you, as somebody who has to shoot themselves and find interesting shots, that you would appreciate. There's a lot of really cool shots.
So that's what you love the most out of it, you think? You just the creativeness of like having to be stuck in a room, filming yourself, filming these different shots, how to play with lighting.
I love Bo Burnham's songs. They crack me up. I laugh. Like I've always, like I said, even when he was like 15, 16 years old and uploading these like goofy songs on YouTube, I always thought the lyrics were funny, and I liked how like you could tell that he's really, really, really smart by the songs that he writes.
Yeah.
And so I've always been entertained by that.
It's new math. It's new math.
But usually there was this air of like, okay, so it's a one-man show, like his previous specials, and they're funny, but they're campy and it's great. And then the last one, which was from 2015, he had this special on Netflix called Make Happy. And I was blown away, especially with the ending of it. And if anybody's a Bo Burnham fan, they know what I'm talking about. The last like 10 minutes of that special, I was just like, wow, this guy's music has been elevated. His like thoughtfulness. There's a lot of psychological things unravel here, and I just thought it was so awesome. But then he kind of quit doing live shows.
What was the ending? What was the ending that blew you away?
So it's two parts, really. The first one is this auto-tuned rant that he said was inspired by Kanye, who sometimes does these rants at his concerts. But his rant was so like nonsensical if you don't know anything about it. He's like talking about how Pringle cans are too small and he can't like fit his hand inside one to get the chips at the bottom.
That's a good point.
When he goes to get burritos made, they often put too much stuff in there, and then it's just a big ball and it breaks open and stuff, and he has to eat it with a fork. So they're just like talking about these things. But I took it to mean, because I've heard him say before that he got lucky. He already was so like fortunate in his life, being like his demographic and everything else. Mm-hmm. And then he got lucky on YouTube on top of that. And then, inexplicably became like famous or whatever. And all these things worked out for him, and he's still unhappy. And so I kind of feel like his rant about Pringle cans and about, burritos and stuff like that was really more of him making this sort of statement on like his life's problems and how it's about the psychology of looking at things. Anyway, but the rant was just really beautiful.
It's kind of what we were talking about earlier about just,
Yeah. Watch a previous episode if you want to know what we're talking about. I think this is going to be episodic. But yeah, so it was just really beautiful. And then the show was over. He went in the back and he went into this little room, which is the same room from Inside, it turns out. Mm-hmm. And he played this little ditty on the piano, which was kind of like this conclusion to the show. And then that was the end of it. And then he stopped doing live performances. And in that rant, he also mentioned how he has trouble with the audience, which is very close to what we were talking about in, I think probably our first episode, which was how he wants to, I think he said something along the lines of like, I want to please you and give you the night that you deserve, but I also want to say what I think and don't want to care what you think about it. So there's this kind of like, he wants to do what he wants to do, but also wants to make sure that you're happy. And that an eternal struggle is too much for him to handle, that he used to give him panic attacks. And so he stopped live performing because of that. So the reason why Inside is so special anyway, is because 5 years later, after he decided not to do this, he is stuck in COVID like all of us were, and thought, well, maybe I'll just film some stuff in my little studio. It might never see the light of day. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know just like all of us, we didn't know how long COVID was going to last or anything. And so I felt like we just got to see this dump of consciousness that was also masterfully shot.
It's a dump, all right.
It is, yeah. But it was somehow it just related to me. I was watching it, man, and I was like, totally. That's totally everything. COVID, YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I thought he was talking to my soul.
Dude,
so I sent it to you because I was like, Josh would get this. Yeah.
Dude, when COVID hit, that inspired me to do Anamorphia 1. So I definitely relate to...
That's totally why I thought... I know the music threw you off, but I was like, just imagine yourself, you're stuck in a room, you know?
Did you see Dynamo Dream yet?
Yeah, so I watched it like maybe a week ago.
Yeah, so Ian Hubert, he's a guy that I've only found his stuff within the last probably year or two.
I'm Ian Hubert. I've been doing visual effects and filmmaking and kind of wacky stuff for like 25 years.
God, I'm really impressed with him, really inspired by him. I mean, so this is a guy that went out, made his own using Blender. He made his own, and his girlfriend or his fiance, maybe they're married now. But they basically shot this whole thing, and they documented a lot of the behind the scenes on it. And he did his own visual effects, and I mean, it's good for someone that went out and did it themselves with pretty much no crew and just a couple of people helping out. You know, he made I think it's a web series now that he's going for, but he's done a couple of these episodes, and it's funny. You kind of had the same reaction to me for Bo Burnham, which is like, I don't get it.
Yeah, like I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about VFX in terms of what's hard, what's easy, what's good, what's not. But looking at it, I thought that the effects were pro level. Like they looked like, you know, like good. Well, I was going to say I've seen movies with terrible special effects. So these look like good special effects. But when I was watching it, I wasn't sure how I was supposed to be watching it. I was like, is this a tech demo of like his VFX prowess? Or plus it was also called episode 1.
I think it's the start. I think it's the start of a more intense web series that he's doing. I think he's got some story arc going on, and you know, the first episode's like 20 minutes long, and it takes its time kind of world building, right? Showing you the characters and the world that they live in. And so yeah, it has a little bit of that demo feel. There is definitely a storyline going on, but it's not like when you're watching. Like in Hollywood, they spend so much time perfecting the pilot episode because the pilot episode is supposed to do the world building, but it's also supposed to thrust you into the story. In his defense, like, dude, that's like the hardest part about doing a pilot, like just the script. You know how many pilot scripts are written that never get made because on the script level, they don't achieve that. It's very, very hard to do.
That's a good question for you then. What would you say is the best pilot that you've seen that, you know, evaluated standalone?
Dude, so in my acting days, I've read thousands of scripts and probably.
Oh no, I mean like one that made it, like on TV.
Okay, one that made it, probably Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Breaking Bad is a pretty great
Breaking
pilot.
Bad pilot episode is. I mean, that's buttoned up.
I have one. I don't know if you watched this or not, but this would probably be my pick. Lost. Did you ever watch the Lost pilot?
Yeah. J.J. Abrams.
I thought in terms of just for a network TV show trying to rope you in.
Gosh, with Lost, I mean, they just threw everything at that storyline. I mean, they had like time travel and swamp monster, and they had.
First of all, I do love Lost, so I'm not saying anything negative about Lost as a whole show, but totally, there was totally so many things. But the pilot was only teased things. The pilot only
Abrams
teased.
pulled it off, man. He did. You could put time travel in there and vanishing mountains and like
the time travel stuff paid off too. There's that episode, The Constant. Anybody that's a Lost fan knows what I'm talking about. It's where Desmond has a whole time traveling like episode to himself. The episode The Constant is probably one of my favorite episodes of TV
really?
ever. And that was deep in like season 4. So there was still
And
there
think
was still
about that.
plenty of quality.
See, I would like
you
to
know?
be a fly on the wall for that episode. Like that's one of your favorite episodes. But think about how much balls it took for them to greenlight that episode. They're like, I don't know, Desmond, kind of an off the. He was like not one of the main characters, but like a pretty large character, right?
Yeah, he was loved even though he was secondary.
Yeah.
But he was like one of those secondary characters that everybody
Yeah.
kind of loved when
They're
he
like, you're
popped
gonna do a
in.
whole storyline on him, like for this thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. But it, paid off. Obviously, something like I would love to have been there when they decided that. Those are the things that fascinate me.
Or what about all the ideas that got rejected? You're talking about the stuff that made it into Lost. I want to know some of the ideas that people
Oh
were
my
like,
God.
what if we had a thing?
No,
and it's like, I
no,
don't
that's
want
too crazy.
spoiler, but
That's
yeah.
that
Yeah, exactly.
that won't work.
That would never work.
No one will believe that.
Nobody will. Yeah, what was that idea? Sawyer's an alien. Peels off his face.
Yeah, that would be great, dude. That's like a Saturday Night Live skit, like all the rejected
Okay.
Lost ideas.
Opposite question for you, because I have one in mind. What's a show, maybe, and we can call this because of the pilot, but what's a show where the first episode just didn't, but maybe you ended up watching it afterwards and you were thankful that you did, but the first episode did nothing to keep you there?
Oh my God,
like,
Game of Thrones. First 3 episodes are borderline unwatchable.
I thought they had good production value, so I thought that was worth something. I don't really remember. I think I'm neutral
It's just
on
because-
Game of Thrones first episode.
It's just because there's so many characters and so many things going on in that time. That's a very hard series to onboard because you need so much information to invest in these characters.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so it really does take 3 episodes. But then when you go back and watch it again, then you understand, like it makes sense. You know what I mean? But man,
You know what mine is? I don't know if you ever watched the show. We've never talked about it, but did you ever watch 6 Feet Under?
yeah.
That was a series that it took me, I think, maybe 3 tries to watch it. And now whenever I tell somebody
dude.
to watch it, I say, although you got to watch like 5-6 episodes, because for me, the first couple episodes, I was just like, I don't. Why is everybody like this show? Once you get like a season
Yeah.
deep, it
Makes-
it probably becomes one of your favorite
Now
shows.
you
but,
reminded
like,
me of the Ozarks. Now I want to change my first answer for excellent pilot. Dude,
Is that
Oz-
Jason Bateman
Yeah.
show?
The Ozarks.
Okay, I haven't watched it. I'm waiting. I'm
Holy
waiting till it's
crap,
all
dude.
available to watch. I haven't
Dude,
seen an episode. Don't tell me anything.
I won't tell you anything, but like the writing on that's some of the best pilot writing I've ever. It's phenomenal.
I think they said there's only going to be like one more season, so I'm waiting until that's out. And I'm
I
gonna.
thought they just canceled it. Oh, don't wait. Just watch it now. I thought it was canceled.
I don't like to have too many shows on the go that I'm watching like week to week. I like to
come
be
on.
able to, because then I find you get, muddied
It's not
down,
in a
especially
box.
when
You
it was.
gotta put it in a box for Gerald.
That's right.
Put it on
Well,
top of the television
Lost,
set.
Lost is a perfect example of that. Like watching Lost week to week versus now I was able to binge watch Lost like
Yeah.
a couple years ago. It was so much more enjoyable, I think, to binge watch it because you can sort of like get the answers at your own pace, where watching it week to week was excruciating, where it was like,
Yeah, but
what's
that's what
going
makes
on?
it. Yeah, but that's what makes it fun. Is you're like, yo, did you see the latest episode? You're like, no, don't tell me about the latest episode. All right, call me after you see it. Like that's what makes it fun.
But because things have changed, going back to that style is
Yeah.
very difficult
Yeah,
now
you're
because you
right.
have, again, that instant gratification where you're like, next episode, why isn't
Yeah.
it there?